My son's birthday was 2 weeks ago, which was so fun and special and kind of emotional. But that day is special not just because that was the day that he was born, but it also is the day that I was born into motherhood. Hey, I'm Amber. Welcome back to my channel, or if this is your first time here, welcome. Since I have now been a mama for 1 year, I wanted to film a video just reflecting on the past year of motherhood, the highs, the lows, and just like my raw, honest thoughts. I've actually been writing these thoughts down over the past year, so I tried to organize them as best I can, but it might be like a smidge all over the place, so just bear with me. I see so much content online about like the expectations versus reality of motherhood, and a lot of the time it's where like the reality is harder or worse than the expectation. In some cases that's definitely true, but I've actually been surprised at the reality of what I'm capable of as a mom. Starting from birth, I had a unmedicated birth at home, and of course when I was pregnant there was like that little voice occasionally in my head that was like, are you actually going to be able to do this? And I did, and I was shocked that like an hour after I had my son, I was like, okay, that wasn't too bad, I could do that again. And I still feel that way. The fact that women go through like one of the most physically and emotionally challenging things that like a human being can go through, and then right afterwards immediately go into taking care of and giving so much of yourself to this little life, and then also operating at almost full capacity in that first year with like little and very broken up sleep. All of that was just an affirmation of how strong I really am and what I'm really capable of. Postpartum was a little bit harder than I thought it was going to be. I've talked about this before. I think it was even more stressful for me because I had been laid off from my job exactly 1 week before my son was born, and so I was planning my whole pregnancy on taking a paid maternity leave, and then all of a sudden that was kind of like ripped out from under me. Everything worked out. My husband ended up getting a job where he was making significantly more money, so I'm a stay-at-home mom now. It was just a lot because you're tired from like everything you just went through, and then on top of that you have this little baby that basically needs something from you like every hour or two tops. You're sore down there, you're bleeding just a ton. You have this like hurricane of emotions going on because your hormones are all out of whack and like trying to rebalance themselves. And then on top of that, you have this little baby that you have to figure out how to care for. If you know someone who is newly postpartum or like just about to be in the postpartum period, one of the best things that you can do is just like offer a little bit of help more than just holding the baby. Like offering to cook a meal or to like come over and do some dishes or something like that is immensely helpful. We didn't really have that, and that's something, looking back, I really wish we did have. There's also so much information in the world now about babies, how to take care of them, what to do, what not to do. It is like a blessing because you have all this information right at your fingertips, but it's kind of a curse too because nothing stresses me out like my child's well-being. People are opinionated about what's right and what's wrong, what's good and what's bad. And so there's gonna be one article telling you this is the best thing you can do for your child, and then you're gonna find another article right below it saying that you are going to like emotionally scar your child for their life if you do this thing. Just learning to take the information in but not take all of it like too seriously, because what's gonna work for one baby in one unit is not necessarily gonna be the best thing for another. And so I've had to get better at just like censoring what I allow in, including the information I get from other people, because people are also going to have like really strong opinions about what you should or shouldn't do. And so I've had to get better at sometimes telling people in a nice way, I don't want your opinion right now. And I have to do that to protect my own peace. It's pretty common, I think, to hear like second-time parents say that this next time around, I'm just going to be like, in general, more relaxed and more go with the flow. And all of this information, I think, is why, because you realize that you spend so much time doing all this research and like stressing out over every little detail over your child's care and well-being, just to find you might just disregard everything that you read and just be like, I'm gonna do it this way and that's just what's gonna have to work. Looking back, it's so cool to see like how I've changed in the last year. When I had my son, the mama bear in me like immediately woke up, like she'd been dormant this whole time and was just kind of like waiting. I have become so much more firm with boundaries, and not to say that I didn't have boundaries before having my son. It's just that I've been a lot less tolerant now when someone like tries to push or cross those boundaries. As the new parent, especially the mom, your life is the one that is changing the most radically. The dad too, but if you're breastfeeding especially, then I would say the mom's life is the one that changes the most. Unfortunately, sometimes people are just really quick to judge or like make comments without thinking about exactly that like their life isn't the one that's changed, your life is the one that's changed. So yeah, boundaries are gold. I've never been so aware of the passage of time. It's like since becoming a mom, it moves so slowly and quickly at the same time. The days are long, but the years are short. It's funny because when you're young, time just seems to move so slowly because like you just want the next thing to happen so badly. Like I remember being a kid and just being so excited for like my birthday or like for Christmas. And so it just felt like getting to those points was just like crawling. When you're older, you want so badly to like hang on to each moment that it just feels like it's like slipping through your fingers. And now there's a little bit of a mix of both. And with that, it's just taught me to really prioritize slowing down and like finding the magic in all of the little moments, because being a mom and being a stay-at-home mom can feel kind of like mundane and repetitive, but there's always joy in those small moments. Like you just have to be more intentional about looking for them. And speaking of time, motherhood has made me so much more efficient with my time. And I think that this is something some people don't love about motherhood because they just feel like they have no time at all. But I actually appreciate this aspect because before having my son, I had so much time in the world that like there were times where I ended up just doing nothing because I had so many options. Like I just couldn't decide. And so I would just end up sitting there like, what should I do? But now, because my time is more limited, I'm so much more intentional with it. I know when my son takes a nap, this is what I'm going to do with my time. And I do those things and I really, really appreciate and enjoy those moments and that time that I have. I've also found that I get way more done because I know that I have a limited amount of time, if that makes sense. My goals in life have changed quite a bit now. I still have goals for myself, but one of my biggest goals in life is just to be the type of person and parent that my son wants to be around and interact with when he's older. Because I don't feel like our kids owe us anything. Like I don't feel like he owes it to me to spend time with me when I'm older and he's older just because I'm his mom, you know, like I don't own him. He's my son, but he's not mine. I really hope to create an environment that he consistently wants to come back to. It was interesting to see how having a baby changed my relationships with other people. Alex and I, maybe me more than Alex, was shocked at how much it actually did challenge our relationship. I don't think that he and I thought it was gonna be a complete walk in the park, but we were maybe like a little bit overconfident just because we'd been together for a little bit, like we've gone through some things together, and Alex has an older son, so he's already gone through all of this one time before. I think we kind of just felt like, oh yeah, we've got this. And we did come out the end as an even stronger unit, but it was not without its challenges. A lot of it just came from like the sleep deprivation. On top of that, there was just some conflict over like how certain things should be done, where like, you know, he thought we should handle something one way and I was like, no, we need to handle it this way. And we would have to remind ourselves we're on the same team. It's not you versus me, it's us versus the problem. I think that where I maybe struggled with those conflicts maybe a little bit more than he did was that I just like had this idea that the newborn phase was just supposed to be like the most magical, best time in your life. And to some extent it is, but it is hard. You are both kind of being like pushed to your limits in some sense. And so of course it's normal that there's going to be some challenge in your relationship and some conflict, I think. Immediately it strengthened some other relationships. It took Alex and I 8 tries to actually get pregnant, and during that time it was kind of stressful because you immediately start to think like, what is wrong? Like, why is it not happening? But everything happened the way it was supposed to, because 2 of my already close friends had babies 1 week and then 2 days exactly from when I had my son. So those relationships immediately just got like tighter because we were all going through the same things together. And my sister had her daughter 3 months before I did. And my sister and I are 8 years apart. So we've never really been particularly close just because like we've been going through such different things in our lives. And so we've never really had much to like relate on. But once her and I got pregnant and then had our kids in that time frame, we had something to talk about and to like sympathize and empathize with each other over. So that's been like a really cool thing to experience. There's an interesting emotional duality that comes along with motherhood that I've found kind of challenging, because on the one hand, it's so heartwarming and special to see your child grow and accomplish things and learn things. It's also kind of heartbreaking to know that they're growing and they're moving like further and further away from being your baby. And like with every new milestone, there's also like a last time of something, you know, like the last newborn scrunch, or like the last time that he's gonna need me to like nurse him to sleep or rock him to sleep. I'm getting emotional even just thinking about those types of things. So like on the one hand, it's so beautiful to see your baby grow up, but like there is a deep sadness in watching them grow also, just with those like milestones that you know bring the last time that they're of something. Anyways, oh my gosh, I've never felt more of a need for self-care, I think, because again, motherhood just requires so much of you and you're just giving and giving constantly. Like it's such a selfless act, and right when you have your baby, the time to yourself is like halved, or I mean, probably less than halved. And it's something that I'm so happy to do, but I understand on a deep level the saying, it's hard to pour from an empty cup. I definitely try to emphasize taking at least a little bit of time every single day for self-care so that I can keep doing what I'm doing and keep giving of myself with like a joyful heart. And here's where that duality comes into play. I also try not to put like too much emphasis on self-care, because there are going to be days where you don't have a lot of time or any time at all. And so I actually saw a video from Kaylin Nicholson where she said the thing that you like to do is always going to be there, but your baby is not always going to be your baby. And so I try to remember that on the days that I don't have a lot of time for myself. I feel so much guilt for, I bet you cannot guess what I'm about to say. Any time in my life that I have ever judged another mom, and don't come at me because I've never like openly expressed judgment towards another person. Like that's not how I am, but I've definitely internally judged other moms before ever having a child myself. And what I've realized is if you are not a parent yourself, like you just don't know what you don't know. Every mom, every baby, every unit is so different. And so I don't feel that it's right to judge another mom or parent because just because something worked for you does not mean that it's going to work for their child or their lifestyle or situation. And I used to have thoughts around certain things like co-sleeping or like breastfeeding past a certain age. But at this point, I don't think that there are a lot of things that are either like right or wrong. There are just a lot of different ways to achieve the same result. There are still like a few things that I feel kind of strongly about, like I'm pretty against spanking, but I also realized that me judging another parent who spanks, whether it's internally or actually vocalizing it, is probably not going to be the thing that's going to get them to like change their mind about what they're doing. So just don't do it. It's so discouraging when you feel like someone is judging you, when we're all just out here trying our best and just trying to do the best thing for our kids. I have a new fear that's been unlocked, and that is death. I have not really felt a fear of death since I was like a little kid and first kind of realized like, oh my gosh, we're all gonna die. Since becoming a mom, the thought of my son being on this planet and like not having me here just is so hard. I try not to think about it too much because of course death is inevitable and it's coming for all of us, and for most of us, our kids are gonna outlive us. With social media, I see things about mothers who were taken like way too soon from their kids, and so that is something that kind of scares me also, which I also try not to think about because again, like you don't know when your time is up, and so all you can do is just be present and enjoy every day. The responsibility of raising a good human, I wouldn't say is something that scares me, but it weighs very, very heavily on me. Like I personally don't really care how successful he is or like what he does. All I care about is just that he's a good person to himself and to others. The love that I have for my son is just like insane. It's so vastly immense. Is that even like a phrase? It is now. It like you could just explode from the love for your children. It was true love at first sight. Like right when I had him, I spent basically the first like month postpartum just like staring at his sweet little face and like smelling his little head and like looking at his little features and his little hands and toes. And such a beautiful thing to experience that love growing just bigger and bigger, quite literally every single day. I feel like I was made to be a mom, and it's not to say that that's like my sole purpose in life, but I do feel like it is maybe one of my main purposes. A lot of it came very intuitively to me, and I cannot emphasize enough, there were struggles. There were absolutely times where I just wanted to like curl up in a ball and cry, and sometimes I did. But in those times, there was also this feeling of it will pass. You are where you are supposed to be. You're doing the thing you're supposed to do. The timing was so perfect because Alex and I were just in a more stable position, like financially. Our relationship was very stable. I'm more mindful and level-headed as a human. And so actually when I was pregnant, like towards the end of my pregnancy, my dad had asked me, are you at all nervous about becoming a parent? And I told him no, because I feel like I am in the best place that I possibly could be to welcome a new life into the world. I said earlier that I'm really aware of the passage of time and that it's kind of a saddening thing, but I also have never felt more excited about the future. Like, I am so excited for what's to come, like for future holidays and for future like family vacations, just everything that my son has to look forward to in life and everything that we have to look forward to as a family. The last thing I wrote is that one of the most beautiful things about having a baby is the fact that you kind of get to relive your own childhood through your baby, and you almost get like a second shot at childhood yourself, just because you get the chance to like see the world through the fresh eyes of your baby, and like you get to see the wonder and excitement as they experience new things. You also get the chance to like bring back traditions that you experienced and had as a child, and maybe even get to create new ones. There's Kai. At the end of the day, motherhood can be tough and it can be messy, but it also can be so magical. I think it's just so important to like slow down, be present, and just remember to enjoy those little moments that maybe seem kind of mundane. I feel so lucky and blessed that I get to be a mom, but specifically that I get to be Kai's mom. And you know, this is like the most important job that I think I will ever have, and I love it. So anyway, he is up from his nap now, so I'm gonna have to go get him. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.